Do you want me to go, so Lindsay, do you want me to go alphabetical from the top or from the bottom? You pick.
From top.
From the top, okay. Mark, show me what you've got so far and I'll give you a critique on it.
Okay. Let me just turn off my guide real quick. Yeah. Yeah, my tie down is still kind of a little bit rough.
No, that's okay. Rough is good. Messy is not, right? Okay, that looked really great. What I'd like you to do is turn loop on right. Yeah, it's working good. You should be happy with that. And so now do like an interior. You can go ahead and let it loop. So following the same exact thing that you're doing here. How come I don't have my colors today? I want my colors. Oh, this is being a little dwarf here. Okay, so yeah, I don't want black. Hello, Zoom. Well, I guess black it's going to have to be just for right now. All right, so you see how you got this working? That's really good. I am kind of concerned about one thing though, and that is that it looks like you've got two volcanoes like right on top of each other in your background.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and this one's taller. Just move it over here.
Okay.
You know, or something, because it's interfering with. It looks like you've got like a double outline or something. So now what you do is go in and do a series of smoke bubbles movement that's right in the middle. And what you can do is you can consider that there's a light source coming from here. And then when you get that animated, and instead of tying it down, just use like a rim light for a highlight, and then another below area down here, darken it in for a shadow. Does that make sense? And you can do that with the ones you've got too. You can add in little half moons, and then you can add in like whole big parts of shadows down here.
Okay.
All right, that looks good. And in your drawing, you're planning on using volcanic eruptions, lava. You're going to do a water splash probably.
Yeah, that was for that was why I had like the other volcano in the background for the eruption.
Yeah, don't, and the other one's too close too. All right, Jesse.
Hello. Let me just share my screen. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Oops. So I just have kind of the outer bubble things for now, and I wanted to make sure that was going correctly before I.
Yeah, it's moving way too fast. So right now you have it on 4s.
Yeah.
And you know how to put it on 8s, right?
I know manually just extending it out.
Yeah. So you've got 64 frames. Take the red limiter right there and drag it to 128. And I think you can just highlight all of those smoke circles and see what you can get for right click. And then say increase exposure.
This one?
No, that'll make it weird.
Increase exposure?
Try that. Oh yeah, so it only took it for the last one. Just do it manually.
Okay.
Put your cursor on drawing 1 and hit the plus key on your keyboard 4 times. The plus key is off to the right.
Yeah, it's not liking that.
I think it's shift plus.
Shift plus.
No,
Oh, yeah, there
it
we go.
shouldn't be shift. It should just be, okay, so now do that for all of them. So go G. All right, keep going. All right, yeah, increase your volcano, F5, you got it, good. Yeah, it's better on 8s.
Mhm.
And I don't, wait, when something's going backwards, hold on. Yeah, check the one on the left.
Uh-huh.
The one on the left isn't looping quite as nicely as the other two.
Oh, I see what you
There's a
mean.
little
It kind
piece
of
where it's going backwards.
something in here is skipping weird.
Okay, you got the right idea. One thought would be is that you can, are you thinking about having like a really wide plume of smoke coming out of it?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing something kind of like I'm just doing this with my mouse
Oh,
right
don't
now,
do
but
that.
I'm
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
combining
don't
together.
do that. Here, this will save you time and energy. And where are my colors? I don't have any colors today. It's bumming me out. All right, so what I would consider is that for your whole layout, you know, you can do like this kind of build for the smoke that's on the left.
Uh-huh.
I know it's not exactly the way you drew it, but you know, something like that might be really nice. And then contrast that with this one. Take all of this and move it over to the right just a little bit and have this one just kind of like steaming a little bit.
Okay.
Something like that. Put a hole in it like that. And then
Okay.
and then have that hole animate, right? So I'm animating that hole and I'm planning it backwards. You see how we did it? So I'm timing it. And then that hole can actually become a real piece of smoke. So just for contrast. And what you can do is if you like this timing here, you can just highlight it by hitting your main select tool and reposition all drawings and move the drawings that you have just over a little bit so that they're more in the center. And that way you've got a really nice contrast of pluming smoke and then steaming smoke. If this is on 8s over here, try this steaming on 16s.
Okay.
And see if you can get it. So like in your timeline, if you are up to 128, so see if you can get the right side smoke to animate here on 8s, and then just do the same thing and put it out on 16s.
Mm-hmm.
And it should be really nice. Okay?
Okay, I'll do that. Thank you.
Thanks. Jack. Jack, you're talking, but we can't hear you. You are muted.
All right, so it turns out when my computer crashed, I did not save my progress, but I only have like one frame that's unfinished, although it might need more tweaking now that, because it would actually was a pretty far off save, but I can show you what I have because it's pretty,
Show me what you have.
yeah, it's still pretty well off, I think. There we go. As I was looking at this, I kind of realized one thing I did wrong, which is I should have made all the bubbles bigger because I was like, how am I going to fill in all that space within the smoke screen? I think the silhouette's working really
No,
well.
I think the bubbles are okay. They're not too big or too small. Oh,
Well, like-
wait. You said bubbles.
Not bubbles, but how to like. Hang on a sec. Let me show you.
The volume of the smoke.
In a sense, yeah. It's more of like if you look at the plumes in like I've been looking at Lilo and Stitch as a reference.
Sure.
The plumes that happen take up like almost the entire, not the entire smoke, but like a good portion of it.
Yeah.
And I was looking, I'm like, why aren't they doing that here? Because right here, they're like, even the filler ones they do are really awkward, like these things. And then and now I was just thinking like, oh, I just make them this big instead or something.
Right.
You know?
Well, no, I think you're okay.
Okay. Well,
But you gotta remember to hit that button on your computer that says "Don't crash."
Yeah, right. The ever famous "Don't Crash" button. Why didn't I think of
The
that?
"Don't crash" button.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So all I gotta do is fill in that frame. And is the path of motion's a little confusing. I've got this one going forward and then it loops back, and so you don't really see it, but it still has to follow that path of action.
Okay.
I've got this one that's going from behind, but it circles around and now it's in front.
Okay.
And then this one's simple, it's just going up. I
Okay.
just noticed that from the Lilo and Stitch thing. Plumes twist.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do.
Yeah, so
All right. Yeah. Go for it. You're on 3s though. I'd rather you be on 4s and 8s.
okay, I can just switch it to 8.
And that's not for any particular reason other than just for
the speed.
timing.
Yeah.
It's easier to do in betweens if you're on 4s.
That is true. Okay, so I'll just oof. There we go.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, let me actually how do I stop sharing notice? There we go.
Okay. Thank you. Linksy.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can see it.
Yeah. I put some color on it just for
Right.
that clean.
All right, so the main bubbles themselves are working okay, but and you can see it, and everyone else can see it too, that you've got a pretty detailed space right here for this open space right here, and it in one of the frames it starts out about that big, and the idea would be is yeah, it could get smaller, but when it gets up to here, this is going backwards. See how this negative space is just like going in and out and backwards.
Yeah.
So it should do one of a couple of different things. One is that once it gets up to here, you can certainly break that hole apart, and you could even break it apart into 3 different areas. But it's got to move. It's got to move along with the rest of it. And remember that when you're doing a tie down, you don't have to stay true to just these original shapes. Like you can give yourself more of a softer roll. You don't have to like cut really close right there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All right, so the other thing is that because you're doing this, you're probably going to want to do a little bit of fire down here.
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't done fire yet, but when we get to it, you can put it in there. And one thing to consider is that the fire itself could have like a little bit of smoke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
but you don't have to do that just now. What you can do is you can maybe get that fire to just have like a little bit of steam that's animating, but we can take that one piece by piece. All right, thanks, Linksy. You still have to do the volcano. I mean, how are you going to do the projectiles? You know what I mean? Because we're going to do lightning. Well, let me think about it for a moment. You have in the volcano shot, we have the ability to do smoke and lightning and a water splash or a bubble and projectiles, and lava itself. And so if you want to just break those up into separate little projects, you're welcome to do that. The only reason that I was combining those is it makes more of an interesting project for you. Okay. All right. Did I see Tom? No. Millie, wake up.
Do I have my voice on? Oh, I'm still working on the layout, so I don't have much to show. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you share your screen.
Oh no, I'm still working
Oh,
on
okay.
the layout.
All right.
If you want.
We'll catch up. If you want to, you can put something in the late and missing folder that we just talked about, and I can give you a critique online.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks.
Christy?
Here. I'm sharing now. One moment. I did a bit of different smoke. But I planned my composition around like a lightning coming down and then like shooting out a little bit and then the smoke comes out.
So you have a lot of frames right here. Are you an Animate?
No, I just spent a lot of time on it. Oh yeah, I'm in Animate.
You're an Animate.
Yeah, I paid for Toon Boom and I tried the Academy stuff and it's
All right. Can you show me what the smoke looks like so far?
Yeah.
Okay. So one thing that I want to caution you about is that, and let me check here. So, right, your game. So
Yeah.
one of the things that we always talk about in animation is that over here on the left, on the top, on the right, on the bottom, oops, this is called the action safe area. And in this, it's one field in from the edge. And this is where you'd want to keep anything that's moving away from that area. This is called title safe, and it's 2 fields in. So you have action safe and title safe. And mine is being very generous. It's just kind of fat because just of the tools in Zoom. And then you have cinematic thirds. So if you divide your screen up into thirds for the horizon, for the vertical and the horizontal like this, you know, roughly, then these become focal points. And so this is a clue that you're really far off the focal point for the candle, and you're really far off the focal point for all of this up here. The smoke is okay. I mean, you do have a focal point that's in the middle, and you have areas all in this general facility where you can have focal points as well, but this is really far out. So, yeah, it's strange. Okay, so what I would suggest is that you can probably keep this smoke as you've got it, but take your table and bring your table down and bring this playing board like this, and then put the candle so that the flame is at least in between the right and left focal points, so then you can generate a little smoke coming off of it, and you can have the fire itself. And then put this cauldron over here. You can tuck it down just like you've got it, but bring it down. Now, I don't think that you can move things, so I'm glad you didn't do like too many bubbles in here, but you're gonna have to bring this down. Once you've done that, you see that you've got a composition that has this kind of triangle in it. That's just from the masters, right? You're looking at all kinds of things. So you may want to consider moving this whole thing over a little bit to the right, just in terms of composition. Then you have all this area to play with here for your bubbles,
I see.
okay? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
You can stop sharing. Right, Key?
I only have like a layout to share. I don't have any
What?
animation.
How dare you? You miserable, tick-infested, flea-ridden, turd-jumping little rat bag.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're going to show it to us, or we're going to have to find
You
out
wanna
where you
see
live,
it? I mean, okay.
drive over to your house and dress like you and follow you around.
Not much to see. Just
Where is
that
the volcano going to be?
right here.
So,
back.
so remember what I just said
Yeah.
about the focal points. You know, that one's close, but if you moved it, everything down just a little bit,
Okay.
you could have more room to play with the smoke itself.
Okay.
All right, thanks, Keith.
Like over here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. And that means moving everything down, squishing it just a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah, that's
All right,
easy.
thanks, Keith.
Thanks.
All right, Farah.
Sorry, I wasn't unmuted. Hi.
Hi.
Okay. I don't have too much so far. I just have the layout and then I started the smoke.
Okay, wait, before you do anything else,
Mhm.
and I'm not going to yell at you, but I'm going to yell at you
Oh no.
because this is one of the things that you really want to avoid is small, 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 a little bit bigger. So instead of doing that, concentrate on like this one being small and always think to yourself contrast in shapes. So do a really small one and then do a bigger one. And then see if you can get a really small one and then a really big one. And then a small one, and then a medium-sized one, and then a big one to go off the screen. So you have to play with this contrast. You can't just let this go zip, 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 zip. You know, I think that this starts it, but think about just the dynamics of big and small and bigger. And what'll happen here is when you're doing this, this gives you a relative place where you can animate. You know that you've got 8 or 10 or 12 drawings to get from this position to this position. And so you settle on it. You like the number 8, great. So go from this position to this position for 8 drawings. And then just kind of think about it. And then go from this position to this position in 8 drawings. Negative space, a really small one, a medium-sized one, and then pick up your really big one and go from the center tangent, right? So it's moving a little faster right now. So contrast the variety of shapes.
Okay.
It'll always do you well.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm glad you didn't get too far because it would have looked too much like a bicycle chain.
Yeah.
And you don't want to animate a bicycle chain. That's too mechanical.
Ah.
All right, thanks, Farah.
Okay. Should I show you what I have so far though?
Yeah.
That's on it. I also
Well,
started the
it is moving, but you do want to take my direction and get those other shapes in there. I promise you.
Okay.
Thanks, Farah.
You're welcome and thanks.
All right, Chrissy.
Hello. I was actually absent last week,
but I've heard about the smoke project, and I was wondering, does it have to be specifically on the volcano, or just the smoke in general on any object?
Well, no, you heard us talking to Linksy. You can certainly break up every single project that we have in this class and do each individual project separately. But I was talking about combining them because they make better show reel, they make better portfolio pieces. So yeah, you don't have to do it that way, but there is a volcano project, and you should, if you didn't see my example, it's on one of the Zoom recordings that I posted. And that gives you the chance to put smoke, which is cycling, and lightning, and rain if you want, and water splashing, and bubbles, and fire. And so you can combine them all into one big composition.
Okay. Does it have to be like 2 effects at once, or I could just?
No.
Okay.
No. When we get to the final in this class, there was a little note that said combine 2 or 3 effects, and instead of doing that, I went backwards. And remember that I posted the little thumbnails thing that I drew for everybody, right? This thing. It's in the chat area. Javon, you're signed in twice now. Okay, that's fine. So I just put that little thumbnail in there because then you can start thinking globally for the rest of the semester. What do you want to do? You're working on 3 separate discrete projects.
Okay.
You know, so instead of just doing like tons of little projects and then a bigger final, I was like, let's just do 3 or 4 main projects and make them a little bit more substantial. Okay.
Yeah.
And again, reminding everyone that that folder is brand new, the late, missing, and redo folder in the discussion area. So yeah, use that one. All right, Javon.
Yeah. Let me share my screen.
I gotta stop staying up late and watching Peaky Blinders. It's giving me bad dreams. Anybody watching Peaky Blinders?
What's Peaky Blinders?
It's a Netflix original about the gang of thugs in Birmingham.
Oh.
And the cinema is just really great. The acting is really good. You know the guy who played Scarecrow, Cillian Murphy. You know, he's got this really angular face and blue eyes. He's a really handsome guy. And he's the lead. It's called Peaky Blinders. And it's really violent. They're constantly smoking and drinking and killing people. And it's affecting my dreams. All right, Javon, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm trying to share from my iPad, but it's not letting me.
Okay. Well, do you want, what do you have?
So I have the keys right here. I don't know if you can see.
So yeah, be careful. I think that what you've got, your volcano, you don't want your volcano to V out like that.
Okay.
So you take a cue from what you've just seen me doing for my critique here and from the demos is to get it to be more.
You mean where they meet at the top right here? Like.
Well, no, and I don't think you need to do 2 of them.
Okay.
So if you want to just hold that up, I'll draw right over it.
All right, sure.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see.
You know, now I don't know where my thing is here. Zoom is like messing with me again today.
You might not be able to draw over because he's not actually sharing his computer screen. He's just using his webcam.
All right, hold on one second. Can you see it?
I can't see you drawing over it. No.
Yeah, I don't know where my Zoom went to. There we go. All right, can you see it now? All right, but now I can't draw.
Yeah.
Hold on a second here.
I could try sharing again from my iPad.
Yeah, this is very strange.
Maybe you can screenshot and just put the screenshot on Photoshop and draw over there.
No, I don't want to do that. Just follow my
Okay.
example that I just did for the demos and the one that I have recorded from
Okay.
last week too. But you know, I would recommend giving one plume of smoke coming out of the volcano, something that's easy and manageable to do for one of the volcanoes. And then just like you saw, just use one of them for like a little bit of steam coming out of
Okay.
the caldera or something.
Gotcha.
Yeah, don't do two of them. That's just too much work.
All right.
And you gotta get caught up.
Yeah.
You still owe me like everything.
I submitted the flag animation.
What about your pixie dust?
I'll get that in. I'm working on that one.
So put that in the late and missing folder.
Okay.
All right, Kristen, are we missing Kristen today? All right, Uma. All right, I think this will work. I think this will work fine. It looks like it's looping okay. So remember, just go ahead and do the ones that are in the middle. And you might even find that it might be more interesting for you so you've got like this little string of pearls here. You got this little string of beads. So what might be more interesting is if you do like something in the front that's a little bigger. Just for contrast, right? And then remember that this can move at a different speed too. And then remember what you want to pick a light source so that these will be highlights and these will be shadows. So it looks like it'll work. Just play with that interior middle part now. Okay? All right, thank you, Uma. Daniel, did we skip over you?
I think so, but let me share my screen.
Okay.
Okay. Here we go.
Yeah, it's working pretty good. So now your next step, because I think you've got the medium and the big shapes.
Mm-hmm.
So you've definitely got the medium and the big shapes. Could you pause just for, yeah, right, pause. So
Sure.
Now go in and instead of just doing this, do this. Stop it, stop it. All right, and then on this one, maybe just do one. And then think about combining these two. Because then that'll give you a really big shape right there. Same thing over here, do a little one, and then a little one and a really little one. And that just makes it better right there.
Got it.
Right, and then contrast this big shape with a little shape. And then instead of staying here, try to do like a little outside shape right there. And then come backwards. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, did you do 8 and then copy it, or do you have 16 drawings?
No, I believe I did 8 and then just in between.
All right, so go backwards and then just go 8, 8, 8.
So
And then,
all of these, I should extend all of these into 8s?
No, no, I'm just saying that this is animating on 8s.
Right.
I'm sorry, on 4s, but with 8 drawings on 4s.
Got it.
But, and you can put like a little dot right here to remind you that this little thing of smoke, this little puff of smoke here doesn't have to come all the way from the volcano. It could just appear right there.
I see.
It can appear from here, or if you want, it can appear from the little crevice area. But try it from here. Just try it from like a little area here where it just kind of like there's a little extra one. You could actually become 2, just to make it more interesting.
Got it. Okay, I'll try that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let me do a couple things here. Like I said, I'm going to do a bunch of. We are going to do an explosion. We're going to do a quick bomb. And then we're going to do a couple other things on top of that. All right, so from the top, this is a brand new folder. I want a color card. You can't do anything without the color card. Here I've got the drawing layer embedded in it. And remember, you can just grab it and move it on top. We're going to call this the BG. It's always on the bottom. I give myself a new drawing layer. This will be B for bomb. Add and close. So for my BG, I just want to use a shape. I want to use just a gray background. So I'm just going to right over the stage and I'm going to paint this. With a gray.
Sorry, Billy, are you sharing your screen?
Thought I was. How's that?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so I'm just setting up a stage here. I'm going to give myself a gray background. And remember that we went over some of the tools. Toon Boom isn't the most absolute intuitive thing, especially when it comes to like your render view. You know, and it's like it will not play in the render view, so you have to always go back. This little thing right here gives you the action safe area and the center focal point. So that's always a good reminder for you. And this just shows you what you're looking at. This takes away the stuff on the outside of the frame. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm also going to I'm going to draw a bomb like about right here. I might change the color of that background to be something a little lighter, but that's okay. We're gonna make a bomb. We're gonna make him black. We're just gonna put it in here and give him a little shadow, if we will. We can color this guy in here. Just for all of your sake, if you ever see the TNT thing in cartoons, that stands for trinitrotoluene. And nitro is short for the nitroglycerin. And the nitroglycerin is also short in cinema for cell animation, if anyone is interested. And that comes from nitrocellulose. And so there's a whole connection between what bombs and TNT are to cartoons and animation. All right, so I'm drawing this on the background layer. I'm just going to hit F5 out here. Actually, I'm going to take this and move this out to about 120, which is about 5 seconds. And then I'm going to F5 just the background. And I realized that I drew my bomb on the same level here. So I want to just copy this and delete it and put it on its own level. All right, so the next thing I'm going to need is we're going to just talk about just making a shot out of this, making a scene out of this. So what's going to happen is that this is already lit. So I'm going to have a fuse. And on top of this, I'm going to name this drawing level the F for fuse or fuse. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself like a little short fuse here, like this. Just so it's like something to look at. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to come out to about frame 21. I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to erase it just a little bit. And then I'm going to copy it again. Now I'm going to go on like 8s. I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to erase it just a little bit. And then I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to come out about 8, paste it, erase it just a little bit. And remember, I'm switching to the select tool by hitting the command key on my keyboard. All right, so now you can see what's happening is that the fuse just gets shorter and shorter. Now, if I want, and I don't like that timing, I can always add just a few frames to this. Something like that. And let's just take a look at this. So we got nothing, and then the fuse. So that's a pretty good timing on the fuse right there. And what happens is that the fuse is gonna disappear. It's gonna hold for a moment before the actual explosion happens. So this fuse here is a good indicator of the timing. So I'm gonna take another drawing layer. And this one's gonna be SP for sparks. All right, and so this is going to be going basically the whole time the fuse is going. So one thing that we may want to consider here is limiting the first frame like that. So it just starts going right away. And then boom, okay, good. So now with this fuse layer, we'll probably do this on 4s. And what I'm going to do is create a new color. And because we've got a gray background, I'm going to pick something that's more in the yellow area, just because yellow, something hot, yellow, orange, something like that. Just to begin with, my pencil, I'm going to double check my numbers. Remember, it's 5, 5, 25, 5, 25, 5, which is okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start getting some the sparks coming off the fuse. And so I want my onion skin on. And so this is kind of just like the pixie dust. We're going to do this in a couple of separate little parts. Remember that you want this to be moving. And remember that I'm just going to use my greater than and less than sign to get this thing moving on 2s, because there's an empty drawing right here. And then as soon as I hit it, then it becomes a real drawing. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm just getting the sparks to come shooting out of the fuse itself. And remember, the fuse is on like 8s down there. And so once it moves, I'm gonna move with it. You don't want any of these to be in any of the same places as before. But you want it to move. It's moving quick. All right, and we're setting keys. These have to dissipate, and then the fuse goes this way. All right, so remember this is just the first pass. And none of these shapes should be on top of the other ones. And then this one is our last one, because now the fuse should go away. So in this drawing here with the bomb, I think what I'll do is just make sure that this goes away. And remember with my Wacom tablet, that's just the back side of my stylus. All right, so let's just do one more here. Then I'm going to add a new layer. And this, what I want to do a little smoke, just a little puff of smoke. And so right at this point, when the fuse goes away, I'm going to pick a smoke color. So I'm going to pick a new color here. And this is going to be smoke. And I want the smoke to be just kind of orangey gray, black gray, something like that. And then from this point, then I'm just going to, now what I could do is I could do like a little thumbnail, but just follow along with me here. On this frame right here, actually I'm just going to do like a little puff, just kind of like that. And then again, I'm going to use my greater than sign to go 2 frames out. And then this just kind of grows. This is a different kind of smoke. This is like the cigarette smoke that we talked about like last week. And it's just a little bit of nothing. It's just kind of like a choop. It just disappears a little bit. And one more frame. All right, so let's just see what this looks like right now. And there's your smoke. So now what we can do is we can go back into this and we can add a few more strokes. So right now I want little dots out here, just like pixie dust almost. And now I can use my G key. Remember, don't draw where any of the other parts were. And so these are just like exploding little bits of magnesium. So they're just like a pixie dust kind of thing. And I'm just using my G key to go really fast. You do little circles if you want. Just the G key. This can explode if you want. Oops, sorry. And then you could always mix up different colors too. All right, so all we're doing is adding a pixie dust, a little magic to the sparks. And remember when we look at, I'll show you the examples that you have for explosions online. But this is always a more fun way to do it. And the other thing that you can do here is you don't have to do this for this project. You can combine this with your final and you can have an explosion in like a chemistry lab or something like that, or an explosion in a game lab. You can explode anything you want. Sometimes what I'll have done is I'll say instead of a bomb shape like this, you can just have like a duck. And you can say, why does a duck have a fuse coming out of his head? Well, the bomb is in the shape of a duck. And when it explodes, instead of having shards that come falling down, you can have little baby ducks falling all over the place. It's just like a silly, creative option. All right, so a couple more here. One more. And it's overlapping the little fuse right there. All right, let's take a look at what we've got. I'm going to save this, play it. All right, so this smoke right here is moving way too fast. So with my smoke layer, I'm going to add 2 drawings, two exposures to every drawing. Let's take a look at it again. All right, so I also think that I would like to delay it a little bit. So I'm going to grab this and move it down the timeline until after the little sparks stop. And let's take a look and see what that looks like. So I think I want to delay this even more. I think I want a full 8-frame delay. Okay, so that's starting to look good. I'm going to save this. I'm going to take my playhead and move it out another 20 frames or so. So now what's happening is the bomb is going to explode. So the bomb is still here. So I want to F5 this. And so at this point right here, the smoke has gone away. Let's give ourselves maybe 3 more frames of exposure. So this is where the bomb actually explodes. So let's take a look on the electric internet. We're just going to put 2D animation bomb. Switch this to images. And you can get a bunch of things from my effects board, or you can see it should be pretty much the same thing. I'm going to actually, so this is interesting here. You've got the beginning of the explosion. Here's your typical bomb with the fuse. And then you've got the wider dispersion of the flash. And then you've got the shards from the thing that was being exploded. And then the shards move out, so that's interesting. And then just kind of study what you've got. You know, you're not doing water. This one is the one we're looking at. This is a GIF. So there's a little bit of smoke that dissipates. You know, there's something there. Let me cross-reference this with John Howes. See if I can pull the one I'm looking for. So I'm not seeing exactly the one I like. This little fire here, this little smoke is interesting. That's a little GIF. That's kind of fun. All right, so I'm not seeing the way the explosion was, but basically this is what happens. So what we've done is we've set this up so that we've got a fuse, and then a nothing, smoke, and then pow, it's going to explode. So at this point right here, nothing happens. I'm sorry, the beginning of the explosion happens. So what I'm going to do is, and I want to keep this oriented towards the horizon. I don't want to mess with this too much, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to give myself a new white color, and this one is going to be flash. And I can always change this to yellow later. So I'm going to actually put a little bit of yellow in it just to remind myself right now. All right, so the first thing that we want to do here is you can use the line tool, but you can use the pencil tool, is to just radiate from the center of this little bomb. Lines are nice and straight. And what I always do is I kind of think about the numerology. I've got a 5-point star. I've got, and this could be a rough layer so that I can go back in and tie it down with just the line tool. And I can also go back in and paint this. But I'm going to refrain from doing that for just a moment, because once you've painted it, it makes it really hard to see. All right, so we talked about the fuse being on 8s, the sparks being on 2s, the smoke being on 4s, and now this explosion has to be on 1s. Anything that's moving really fast has to be on 1s. So I'm just gonna greater than sign out to the next frame. And this one is, oops, I'm the wrong tool. Hold on a second. So this is gonna be significantly larger. And what I wanna do is I wanna take a look at my stage. Again, you can just rough this in right now. Yeah, it's not gonna let me hold down the shift key to get a straight line. You know, at this point, you can introduce the other parts of this. You could leave that, you could put that one there. A little wobble in my hand today. And then the next frame. So this is going to take over the whole screen. So I'm going to just bring this one all the way out. Then they can combine. This is taking over the whole screen. The impact will be more visual once you see this painted in, but you'll get the idea of it here in just a moment. All right, so, and right now we could even introduce an open space into the middle of this. And I'm trying to get that to be in a different location than the other one was when it started. All right, so what this is an open space here. So that means that this little yellow shape right here is going to go screaming off the screen like that. And this is just going to off the screen. This one can just be a triangle, it's off the screen. So this open space here was only there for one frame. And you can vary this. You can make a little variation and give you 3 inside cuts, something like that. And these are like gone. So this shape right here can kind of just be like this. And this can fly out a little. I'm going to change my mind on that one. This one can fly like right there. All right, so now what happens on this frame, and we're going to give ourselves a new drawing layer. And I'm going to, this one is just going to be fx_1. And we're going to put this on top of everything. So I'm going to take this and drag it on the top. And I'm going to go to that exact frame. And for this frame, I'm going to use my rectangle again. And I could just copy and paste the other one, but I'll just make a new one. And then I'm going to go to my paint bucket. And I'm going to paint this white, just flat out white. And then I'm going to copy this. And I can just copy this by dragging it like that. So I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to go to the very next frame. And I'm going to paste it. And I'm going to go to the very next frame and paste it again. I'm going to go to the middle frame here and paint it black. All right, and then we're going to go back to our, let's see. So we have this, the bomb down here coming apart. So now on this frame here, what we can do is I'm going to open up my onion skin just a little bit more so I can see where the bomb started from. And now I'm going to go back to either this black color, or I'll make a new bomb black color so I can change it later. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this bomb and we're going to explode the actual shape of the device. So what happens is that the light happened really fast, but now it's time for the actual bomb to explode. And there's a couple of things that you can do here. One, you can just set this timing by itself, and this is going to be on ones too. So let's just do this first. And lots of erratic things can happen here, like shapes. So what we're doing is we're looking at the steel part of the bomb is exploding. And it's creating all kinds of other little shapes too. It's moving fairly fast. It's radiating from a center point like this. Just one more frame out. And you can even have this break into 3 parts. Follow it out. I'm going to go backwards and add in one that's going more upwards. You can even have one that comes right towards camera if you want. All right. So this one is going to go upwards. It's going to break apart. And one more, because the next one would be off the screen. All right. Let's take a look at just what we have for the explosion. All right. So you can see that it's starting to read, right? These little shard things are starting to read here, but now we have to add in another layer. What you would like to do, hold on a second, I changed the timing here. So what you're thinking about here is a secondary flash of light. And so we're going to go back to this flash and we're going to make a new flash. And this is going to be fx_2. And we're going to change this one just white so we can see it. And now we can do kind of the same thing that we just did, but let's keep it on the FX level. Let's put it back up on, let's just keep this one. Let's just use just this one for the BG effects. We can rename that later. Well, I've got FX1. We're just going to put this right here. So right here, remember that the bomb was in the middle. So coming from the area that is between the little black parts, the little steel parts, we're going to just draw another series of sharp exploding lines. And so go out one again. And so make this one a little different. This one's just going to be more straight, a little more dangerously straight. And you can always just straighten these out later. Yeah, that one's horrible, homie. There we go. All right, and then one here. So this is moved out, so we're going to move this all the way out here. This one is going to be the last one here. This one, you may not see it. This one's gone. We need one more. We need just this trailing off right here. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this. We're going to go right here. We're going to paste it. Oops, hold on, I copied nothing, hold on. We're going to copy the, so we don't want this in the middle here. So we're going to just have to shift select and right click and hit delete. And then we're going to go to this one. This is the black one. Command control, copy, paste, go back to the white one, command, copy, paste. All right, let's take a look at what we've got. Let's save it and take a look at what we've got just for an explosion. So it's nice having that, a couple of things happening with this center explosion happening here, and then the black and white frame only. If on this black frame you would like, you could put an area above it that takes the negative, so you can draw in white. The only problem would be is that the bomb is starting to shard away right there, so you don't have a lot to work with. This is just really as simple as an explosion can get. If I was looking at this, we've only spent 20 minutes doing this or so, I would think that it might be really fun to take this little plume of smoke here and drag this area out here for a full 48 frames for 2 seconds, just to have a lot of fun with the idea of the smoke right there, because the sparks go by fast, the fuse is really simple, the explosion is easy, these black and white frames are crazy easy. So if I was going to have fun with it, I'd have fun with this little smoky part right there. All right, so we're not quite done yet. Right now, this is the white frame. So on this B level down here, on the very next frame, you can remember where this blast used to be. So this was the bomb layer. I think maybe to be less confusing, we could just make a new drawing layer on top of this. And we're just going to put this blast, the blast mark. All right, and I'm going to just take a look at what I just did right there. All right, I want to test something. Hold on. Yeah, I don't think there's anything on this frame except this TNT thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to limit this, because this has to be on ones right there. All right, so right at this point, right when this white frame goes away on this new blast layer, remember, so one thing I want to do is I want to bring this open so I can see where the bomb used to be all the way. And I'm not quite seeing the bomb. Why I can't see the bomb? I actually want to, so I'm going to just make a mark right here to create the keyframe. I want it to be in, let's use a new color of black. I'm going to add in just a little bit of gray to it. This will be blast, spelled wrong. All right, I'm going to just make a mark. Yeah, I don't know where my bomb went. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to make a mark right out here, which is the center, and a mark right here. I don't know why I can't see it. I should be able to see it. So right, stupid thing. So sometimes I'll use a layout. So right here, I need to introduce a blast. So I'm going to turn my screen sideways. Again, this is the Option and Command button. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a blast mark. That bomb exploded, and it created a big, huge divot in the ground. And it's not animated, it just gets replaced. Yeah, I don't like this one. So I'm going to take these two and delete them. All right. I'm going to go back over here. Oops. This is funny. I'm Command Zing it. I'm going to go all the way to here. It's fine. Let's just redo that. The reason why I did that is I wanted to keep it in perspective. And that line was pointed up just too far. All right, get out of this by hitting Shift M. And you can put a horizon back there if you want. But the thing that's going to sell this are vertical lines here. So that you've created a deep hole in the ground. So the other thing that might help is if you make a horizon line somewhere around here, all the way up the screen, copy it, and then go back to the bomb layer and paste it. And let's see what we've got. Shift M. And let's take a look at what we've got. So that's your bomb. So it's when you go out here on the internet, there's a bunch of different things that you can find for sequencing. But the trick for me is these black and white frames, these flash, the secondary flash, the charts. One thing that you can add, if you're into it, is the idea that this explosion has happened. And then right around here, right around the 125 second or the 6 second mark, the shards that went straight up start falling back down. And then you can just have a jink and just follow your arcs of motion like an animator would. But let me save this and put it away. Any questions? Straightforward enough. I mean, that's just the timing.
So this seems to be like a very Looney Tunes bomb. Is there anything? Does this class cover anything that's more like smoky or realistic, or where like there might be like a dust cloud?
Well, dust is really difficult, and you would want to just do that in Unity.
I see.
I think that what the director and I were thinking about for this class for game and animation students is just the essence of drawing and making sure that when you are in Unity, when you're in Maya and you're controlling those sliders, that you're looking for good shapes. All right, I'm going to pause this just for a second. All right, so there's a couple of things just about, and putting these all together in one lecture just kind of makes sense itself. So what we're going to do is let me just take a look. I might have one that's already set up here. It's thinking about it. All right, so this one is kind of introducing the idea of a fiery blast. So at speed then, these flames are coming from some sort of gun or some sort of blaster or something. And then they hit the area of the target over here and explode. And you can kind of see that I've done that.
We can't see your screen right now.
Oh, geez, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. All right, so this is kind of more of a organic fiery blast. So someone's shot a projectile out of a gun or a cannon or something, and it's moving. Let me turn off onion skin here. So it's moving, and it's got the little bits of smoke that are leaving behind it. See, these little things are smoke right here, and then the main projectile is fire, and the fire just elongates and then crashes into the target, and then as it hits the target, I use the same kind of radial explosion, and then it's fast, and then it completely goes away, and there's a handle at the end there. So again, this is just like one kind of blast, one kind of laser blast. On another layer on top of this, if I wanted to do like an extra little bit here, I'm just going to write a demo for this, because some laser blasts are really, really, really simple. And I could turn all of this off, or I could just do it this way. Ah, that's not what I wanted. All right, so over here, like on this frame right here, we're just going to use a bunch of straight lines. And let's just take a look at this. It's 5 points, that's fine. We're going to use kind of a white line. And I'm just going to bring the line in here. So imagine that there's like a gun here, like a plasma gun or something. And this is just as easy as it gets. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to the very next frame. I'm going to paste it. And I'm just going to move it so that it just overlaps a little bit. I'm going to copy it again. I'm going to go to this frame. I'm going to paste it. I'm going to move it so it just overlaps just a little bit. And there is a reason why I picked this size of a plasma blast. And I'll explain here in just a moment. So I'm going to copy this again and then paste it again. All right, so let me explain a couple of reasons why I did it the way I did it. On these frames, there's nothing in front of this. So we've got the blasting happening, you know, that little fire blast, that's fine. So then there's a good 16 frames of nothing. And then all of a sudden, there's a line that just shows up. And the only way that this line is going to appear like it's moving is if the very next line is overlapping it just a little bit. That makes a cleaner, smoother transition. And if I would have picked a really big line, like twice this size, I would have only been able to get 3 frames. But instead I picked one that's, you know, a typical Star Wars kind of blaster thing here. And they're overlapping each other. So the next one is here, the next one's here, and then just a little bit off the screen. So at speed, you can see it moving, right? So now let's do another one. Let's do another layer. And I'll do, this one will be front. All right, so I've got my front layer. It's right here. I'm going to paste this guy who is right over here when the last time we saw him. But this time I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to increase his size, and I'm going to take the size of the thickness up a little bit. And I'm not quite sure it's listening to me. All right, I'll just do this one really quickly. So this guy here is this is a laser blast that's is in front of the camera as close as it can get. And you'll just have to kind of, I wanted to make it fatter. Actually, let me do it this way. So this one I'm just going to use a rectangle, and I'm going to paint this puppy white. And I'm sorry that the end isn't as sharp as it should be. That's okay. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go out to the next frame and paste it. And then I'm going to move it over. And this time I'm going to just break it just a little bit. So there's a little gap between there. And it just so happens that I only captured the stroke and not the fill. I'm going to copy this and go to the next frame. And this is technically, come on, Toon Boom. This is technically the fastest anything can really move. Oh, I did it again. Hold on. Is you've got an object entering the screen. This is really fast. And then the very next frame, it's in the middle. And then the very next frame, it's at the end. So let's just take a look at that relative speed. You're going to have to look for it because this is just 3 frames. Right? So let's just try one here. Let's do another one that's just 2 and see if we can get an apparent motion out of it. And we'll just call this 2. And we'll use the same rectangle here. So, and we'll do this one out here. So this one, this rectangle is going to come in about this far, and then we're going to paint it. And we're going to copy it. And we're going to go to the very next frame and paste it and move it over. And we're going to put a gap between the 2. So the first one was here, the second one was there. And so let's just take a look. So that one's harder to see. And now you can imagine the further into the distance you go, that laser blast is going to move at or around 700 miles an hour. 740 miles an hour is the speed of sound. And so these little plasma blasts are at or around the speed of sound. They are not the speed of light. The speed of light is 186,000 miles per second. You wouldn't even be able to get that to read in your frame. So this is more like plasma. All right, and then it depends on what you want to do with it. Actually, I think that this one is wrong. Yeah, let's take a look at this middle one here one more time. Yeah, it reads a little faster because I had one strobing on there. So that's just the essence of timing of a blaster. And the idea of, you know, using a gun blast or something, you're in a game and you shoot a crate or you shoot a wall. That's just the relative general speed of something that is a good 20 feet away. This one here is like 5 feet away, and then this one is right in front of the camera. So, and you're only going to need 2 frames if it's that close. If it's just really close to the camera, you're only going to need 3. If it's a little further away, you can get away with 5 frames. The further away from the camera it goes, or if it goes off into perspective, you're going to need a whole bunch of frames. You know what I mean? Everyone okay? All right, so, and that's just a simple demo. All right, let me take a look at the other one here. All right, so let's just talk about jet exhaust for just a moment, because it's in the same category here. My stop motion class wished that they had this. So we're just going to do contrail. All right, so this is actually as pretty easy as it can get. What we're going to do is on this one, I'm going to, just to break up the uniformity here, I'm going to add just a little bit of perspective. So on, let's see what I've got. I don't have, let me give myself another layer here. And I'm just going to make this called layout. All right, so on the layout layer here, which is on the top, which is fine, I'm just going to draw with my line tool the direction for the contrail. So I want the contrail to be like this, just for added interest. Again, that is on, oops, let me drag this to the right layer. I want that to be on the layout layer. All right, good. So now on the contrail layer, and it's weird, it's saying that there's still something there. Okay, so so now we can turn our screen a little bit more sideways. And let's say that I want my jet to be going from left to right. So now I don't have to worry about the perspective or anything. I could just draw straight up and down. This is just an additive bit of animation here, and it's just really simple. So we're just going to use some neutral, kind of darker gray. And we're going to use our pencil tool. And we're going to, so this is more far away here. And this is a little bit more closer to us, a little bit more near. So let's get the overall timing first. And on the contrail layer, we're going to start probably something like frame 20, which would be fine. All right, so now we can't see our layout. So go to the end, hit F5. So now go back to frame 20. So one way that you can do this without filling in all this is to use this button here to just say empty drawing. And then that way this open space is locked. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to draw our first, actually yeah, it's fine. So, and we can draw it right on top of this if we want. But I'm going to draw mine just a little bit up from it. So the jet is leaving a pretty singular line of exhaust behind it. We're going to be on 2s. Turn my onion skin back on. And so it's getting closer to us here. One thing that you could do is you can copy and paste. But what might be more interesting is that if you just keep redrawing it and you realizing that the overall speed here is about like this. It's going to increase just a little bit. And I should do this on the layout, but that's fine. So, and then but then we're going to have to deal with a couple of different things. All right, so on 2s. And I'm kind of just glancing over at my speed on 2s. And so you got to just keep going, right? Just on 2s. You know, and at this point, any little undulation in my hand is going to be called what's called a trace back. It's going to wiggle around a little bit. They use the technique in like Ed, Edd, and Eddy. Oops, I went backwards. All right, so a couple of things to consider here. We're just getting the overall general sense of jet stream and timing. And it's getting a little faster here. And the reason why I'm doing this one quickly is because I'm always thinking about what your finals are going to be like. You know, do you want to put contrails like this in your final or anywhere? This is just basically how it's done. So, and you can imagine what this is going to look like. You know, it's just going to move across the stage. And so one thing that's missing here is that this frame should hold all the way out to the end, or like this. So let me just do that. Oh, hold on. So then you can plan this out. Do you want to do this then at the end, where the contrail is actually dissipating? You know, this is something for you to consider here, is that now that it's here, does this contrail then become a bunch of little smoke? You know, and then you're going to be in trouble, because in order for this smoke to degenerate itself, oh, hold on. It's gonna cost you 12, 20 drawings. So then out here, maybe on 4s, this little contrail then starts to just fall apart. Now, one of the times when I've done this in this class is that we talked about like an age-old cartoon adage of a car driving away off into the distance. And this smoke here can appear to go backwards, and this smoke here can appear to go the other way. I'm less convinced about it, unless you were doing something really Don Bluethy or something. And I don't know if we're going to be able to see this, but let's just take a look at it. Yeah, because you can see the beginning of the end of that little smoke, and it's dissipating a little too fast because I wasn't paying attention. But that's just the idea of jet streams. Oops, I just went too far. That's like the idea of jet exhaust. All right, so gun blasts, explosions, tornadoes, bubbles. All right, so within your volcano now. So now I'm going to save this and put it away. Take a moment for that to close. All right, so now I'm going to bring my volcano back that I did this demo, and I hope I'm going to open it correctly. Yeah, it should open fine. All right, so one of the things that we have here, let me just check and see. Oh, you know, I don't know if I did this one. Let's talk about the what do we got here? It's 3:30. I have another hour. All right, let's just talk about water for a second. And when we're talking about this water, let's flip back over to our window here and change this to 2D animation water effects. Try to spell that correctly if I want. All right, so you get a bunch of things, and we do have my effects board that has a whole bunch in here, but I did this to be fast. So there's a couple of things that just come to play automatically. There's a little bit of rising water. The water plumes up like a cone, and then the cone folds over on itself, and I like that. Water can also splash and do all kinds of wonderful dissipation kind of things. It can be really cartoony. I just watched Spirited Away again last night for like the 90th time, and their water is incredible. You know, the splashes can do all kinds of things. They can have upper and lower parts to them. There's all kinds of fun things. Let me put in the word drawing here. And so let's cross-reference. Oh, wait, I saw it. Let's go. So this one is very typical, where something, in order for the splash to happen, something has got to fall into the water. And so when that does is it disrupts the water, and then the water cones out, and then the water starts breaking apart, and then falls back down, and then there's little ripples. So I believe the way this sequence works is that the elaboration is the cone, and then the breaking apart. So it goes like this, and then here's an example of the water splash in motion. What this doesn't show you is that rock, or the thing that hit the water. And what this doesn't show you is that after all this water has fallen back down, there can be ripples that continue for a good 2 or 3 seconds in the water itself. So this one is okay. Let's take a look here. And remember that this is the Elemental Magic book by Joe Gilland. And it's just got the best examples of effects. And the thing about this book is that when he writes the book, he talks about art and design and composition and how to observe things in real life. Let's take a look at this. I don't know if I've seen this one. So this is kind of interesting. I'm not sure that I would lead you into making the water look like petals of a flower or like fire. I would have to be really careful with this, or leaves from a tree, because you could get this to work. If you wanted to, you could get a very different shape of the water to look like the water splash for sure. But let's just stick with a traditional water shape to begin with. Let me see how fast I can hit my effects board. And I think I added something to the effects board the last couple of nights. These 2 smoky, plumy things here. All right, so let's find the one water that I really like. So this is great. This is Joe Gilland to the max. Hold on. I didn't want to. Oh, this is a whole reel. So this one right here, which you can kind of see, it's really nice. Pencil drawn. It's Joe Gilland. There's lots of little shapes of the small, really meticulous, very small shapes, good medium shapes, large shapes. The water splash is asymmetrical. He's taken his blue pencil and made shadows in the water itself, and he's given you these wonderful interior shapes. So whatever we'd be looking at, we'd be looking at something like that. All right, and I should order my board a little better, but that's okay. All right, so this right here says Joe Gilland on it. So let's cross this. These are the last 4 frames. These are the first few frames. What I'm going to tell you is just to keep it in perspective. So let's just take a look at my water here, and we're going to zoom in on this. So the water is right here, and the reason why the water starts right here is because there's a large projectile. I don't know what it is. It's an asteroid. It's a comet that is just really very small, but it's leaving a trail behind it. And as it comes in, it hits the water. So now let's kind of zoom in on the water a little bit. And we get just a couple of little splashes first. So on this frame, I'm going to take my onion skin off. On this frame right here, the projectile, the comet, has hit the water, and it's starting to splash on the same frame. So that's really fast. So on this frame, the imploding projectile, the comet, has already gone into the water, and this is now starting to plume out. So once it does that, you can kind of see that mine kind of looks a little cone-ish. See this? This is going up and to the right. This is going up and backwards. This is going up and to the left. This is coming up to us. And then you can kind of see that it grows. The water starts to come together, and then it comes apart. So what also is happening here is that during the phase of the water being a cone right here, this is the secondary splash coming back up. This center piece is now coming up. So this is the full extent of the cone right here. This is in the back, left, front, right. And then this is a secondary splash coming upwards. So this stuff dissipates pretty fast while this is still going up. Goes up. This stuff is starting to show ripples in the water. And then this is broken apart into 3 and continues to come back down and makes a secondary splash right there at the end. So at speed, let's just take a look at our splash. And you can see that I've done one over here too. All right, so let's talk about how to set this up. I think that this is good for your volcano. It makes sense. Let me think of the best way to do this. We'll do fire next week. Let's just do it right out here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the water layer here, and we're just going to demo just how to get the water working as quickly and as cleanly as we can. And we're going to use these as keyframes because it's already timed for us. All right, so I'm just going to have this little pebble coming straight down. I'm going to hit my G key. It's going to go to the next keyframe. I'm going to hit my onion skin on. It's just going to continue to move at the same rate. And then on this one, it's just going to come here. And on this one, it'll hit. So this is where it's going to actually hit the water. And as it's hitting the water, I just need a little bit of graphics of left and right, and maybe one little bit. And then I'm going to go out one more frame. So now this right here, the rock, the comet, has gone under the water. So what's going to happen is it's going to push the water up. So this can grow. And this is just the right side. This is just the left side. So now what I want to do is I want to draw the front stuff. So this is coming up into the front. And then I'm going to draw water that's going away from me. So this is going up and away. And again, I'm always thinking of that cone, right? And the cone is either wide or narrow, but the water always is going to move in a cone shape. All right, so away from us, we're looking at like this rim back out there. And it's this where you can actually put a hole in it. All right, and then the next frame. So continue this out. It gathers up more volume. This little ridge right here, where the near water isn't going to rise or fall too much. It's going to probably be the place where it's the steadiest. I'm going to draw little holes in the water here. And the same thing with kind of this area right here, the top of the away water. It's going to change a little bit right there, but not too much. And you remember, you're always got to think like water. What does it love? Drawing water. So you've got to draw these little water droplets. And maybe there's another one right here in the middle. Next keyframe. Continue the water coming out. Try to follow the little parts. And right about here is where this near water, here's that hole growing, here's another hole growing. It's going to be hitting the water. All right, so right here. And then there was a hole. And then the away water. And then this loses, so that hole becomes that kind of shape. This is going out. Next keyframe. And I'm going to, that's okay. So this starts to break. This is hitting the water. These two pieces stay together. There's a little droplet. This hits the water. This is all hitting the water, and these are breaking apart. Oh, hold on one second. So this hole grows. This hole grows. Water. Oh, I don't like that. Hold on. And then this is now hitting the water. There's a hole in it. All right, and then these are just following as droplets that are going away. This is off to the left. Next keyframe, this is hitting the water. Hitting the water. You don't want all the pieces to hit the water at the same time. So give yourself a little variety. You see how I'm thinking of the cone? All right, now I'm going to go backwards. Now I'm going to the very first frame here, and I'm just going to check it by going keyframe to keyframe. It's coming down, and it's moving out. Okay, so right about here, I'm going to go back one. Right about here, now the water starts coming back up again. To give myself a perfect little place right here, where now we're going to, right on top of everything we've already done, is now this is going up. I'm going forward one keyframe, up a keyframe. It's breaking apart. Another keyframe up, breaking apart again, and then it's holding. So now it closes into the top of its arc. It eases into the top. One more frame where it just kind of holds. Maybe these can come back together again. Now this is going to come back down, and I'm counting 3 parts. So it starts to speed up a little bit. So put more space. And this is a smaller little bit of water, so it's just going to do a smaller little splash. But it's still in 3 dimensions. So give yourself 1 or 2 little areas that are forwards, 1 that's left, maybe 1 or 2 that's in the away, and then follow it through. Now I know it's kind of hard to see because there's a lot going on here. So go backwards a keyframe to see where it was, and then forwards where you are now. Backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards. Next frame, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards, backwards, forwards. Sorry, backwards, forwards. All right, so now let's go back. Let's take a look at this just keyframe to keyframe. All right, that looks okay. So let's go back to the beginning, look at it at speed. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to attend to the ripple part of this. And so we're going to go keyframe to keyframe. There's no ripple yet. There's no ripple. There's no ripple. I mean, there could be, but you won't see it. You know, the projectile hit the water and it's starting to send concentric circles out there, but you can't see it yet. You might be able to see a little bit right here, but be careful. You don't want to ruin your aesthetic. Right here, you can kind of, this is a good place to start the ripple. You don't have to draw the ripple all the way around it. It is a circle that's in perspective. So now that you've got this locked right here, now go to the next keyframe and just expand on it. Remember, it's in perspective. So the front and the away sides aren't going to move too much, but the left and the right are going to move. So if you wanted to limit it to just a half a circle on the left and a half a circle on the right, it usually works just to start with. But remember, you're trying to make this thing a circle. Ripples are perfect concentric circles. And they move at a relatively stable rate. They don't change, but they can dissipate. They can just get a little smaller. In life, in reality, they kind of stay out there. They can go all the way to Japan. They can come all the way back. But here we're just going to dissipate them. Let's do it again here for this one. So that splash. This one, we can put one little ripple right here. And then now we're keyframing out. Let's just use our left and right method now. All right, so I think that one of the reasons why I like this volcano project is this gives you a place to work with tons of different effects and making it look like it's all part of the same environment and that it's not too hokey. All right, so let's take a look at that. At speed. So that's working okay. I would say that that is working okay. I'm going to save this. All right, so let's do one more thing. In the primordial soup right here, you know, I've got smoke and I've got projectiles coming out over here. And on this particular layer, do I have a layout layer? When you're doing, that's fine, I'll just draw it right there. So on these projectiles right here, I can only give you the heads up, but the best way to do this is to follow the arc principle or the bouncing ball principle in animation, where you learn that the bouncing ball is coming down and then it makes a bounce and then it makes a second bounce and then a third bounce. And in a bouncing ball exercise, you have a declination of amplitude just about like that. It's usually a straight line. There's no way that the ball can return to its original height. Whenever I do demos in class with super balls or tennis balls or any kind of ball, there's no way it can come anywhere near 2/3 of the height. So this is easing out of this key position and it starts to speed up. So as you speed up, you draw the frames further apart from each other. And this is where you introduce the stretch and the squash and the stretch again. And it's moving the fastest right here. And then it slows into, it eases into this position. And then it eases out of this position. So a close-up view of any one of these arcs would be is that something is moving fast. That means it's got a lot of space between the two parts. And then it slows down. There's a natural deceleration and the spacing gets tighter and tighter together. Where it comes to a vertical stop, it eases into this key position. And then it eases out of this position by mimicking the parent position where these parts were on the left side of the arc. So then it speeds up. And you can't go wrong but just by mimicking that replication of spacing. So when you've got projectiles coming out of a volcano, you might as well just draw the arc. And then what is falling out of the volcano? It's a piece of molten lava. So follow the bouncing ball. It moves fast, and then it eases into the top of its arc here. It slows down, and then it speeds up again. And then you could do this over and over and over and over and over again. So do you remember that contrail thing we just did? Yes?
Yep.
Let's see somebody nodding their head. Nod. Contrail? So look at this little idea here of the volcano's going on. It's lasting for 88 frames. But the idea would be is that if you drew lava coming out here, just like it was a jet contrail, then that means in the next frame, you would have to draw it coming down just a little bit more, and then a little bit more, and then it would have to be coming down just a little bit more, and you'd be adding to it. and then maybe it's falling on this crevice. And as soon as you got to about right here, you might be running out of frames. See what I mean? So what I have done in this example here is I have the lava already coming out, and it's already flowing down the side of this little volcano, and it's going into a crevice back there. And what I've done is and I think that let me just draw it over here so you can see it a little better. So what I've done is I've given myself 1 node, 2 nodes, 3 nodes, 4 nodes, and a 5th node. And over the course of however many drawings, I don't know why that just went away. I hit my mouse on the button on my middle mouse. So just like we did with our smoke, these are the nodes. So in the course of 11 drawings on 8s, the lava, this little node is flowing from this position to this position. It's just the same thing. Now the motion is downwards. And you play with this. Lava can flow fast. If you've ever seen videos of lava in Hawaii, man, it's like that stuff can be really fast. You know, this might be fine if your smoke is on 8s, but the apparent distance is like this. That's your travel distance. But here, if you're on 8s, it's only going to be like this. So even though it's moving at the same timing, the spacing is going to be a little different. So this is just a really nice way to get lava to flow on 8 drawing cycle, so that it doesn't have to like just go away, because lava just never really goes away. All right, do I have questions from anybody about this? You want to see the water one more time? All right, that's a pretty simplified version. Remember that the Joe Gilland is the best. You know, he's got the cone of the water coming up. You can see the front is more foamy, the back is still black. Here in this 5th drawing, he's already introduced the secondary splash going up, and it's continuing to go up. And then by the time this all hits the water and starts the ripple, then the first part comes down a little bit. Joe Gilland is the absolute best. This looks like it was Joe Gilland inspired. And remember, just for whatever it's worth in art and animation and design, the way Joe Gilland talks in his book is just absolutely incredible. It's how he talks about composition and the rules of nature and the rules of science. All right, so let me do a couple more things here. We'll catch up on tornadoes somewhere around week 9 or week 10, something like that. All right, so technically we've just done water drips here. And now we're going to work ahead. Now we're going to see this little mud thing right here. Let's just talk about mud for just a little bit, because I want to get dirty. All right, let me make sure I'm in the right place. And I'm not in the right place. All right, so I want to be on this layer. This is my little water demo off the stage. Oh, and you know what? There was this one thing that they talked about, bubbles. And this was kind of one of the things that preeminated the idea of me combining all of these weeks together 3 or 4 years ago when I was running this class. It's like, you know what? Bubbles can be really easy to do, you know. And if you remember Ozzy Osbourne, it was like his 60th birthday party, and Sharon had held this big party for him, and all his rock and roll friends are coming over, and she ordered this bubble machine. And he's like, bubbles? I'm the Prince of Darkness. I hate bubbles. Get these out of here. And so one interpretation of bubbles could just be easily that this perfectly round circle is just going to move. It's just going to move off the screen. And that's really not interesting whatsoever. A bubble that is moving and then pops can be really, really fast. And there's nothing to it. Then this little drip of water just goes to, so there's nothing there. Some of the best bubbles that I've ever seen are the bubbles that are in Sword in the Stone. They're just absolutely incredible. In this particular scene, there's 5, 6, 7 shots, 10, 15 shots in a row where the bubbles are just like, they're crazy. If some of them are popping, it's just nuts. This sequence here for the Sword in the Stone, it's incredible. It's the special effects heavy in this. And you can see that even the breaking the plates is a special effect unto itself. So this is just crazy. It's beautiful. You start watching Sword in the Stone and you're like, this is a really fun story, but the effects are just everywhere. And then the sequence that Bill Peet animated with the squirrel, it's like the best animated sequence I've ever seen of any animation in my whole life. And I'm not going to look for it because the last time I found it, it cut it off right in the middle. Remember that Wart gets turned into a bird and he gets turned into a fish. And it's the one where he's a squirrel it's just absolutely the best. So when we're talking about bubbles, let's do this. And this makes, and I don't know if I did this one for this particular volcano. And on my rough layer, what I could consider is that we've got a water splash and you can see that it's taking over all of this, but there might be like a little area right here to do a bubble. And let's just do like a great big primordial bubble. And so the bubbles are spherical. So in perspective, this is the base of the bubble. And I'm on my rough layout here. And so, oops, I just navigated away from it. So this is just the base of the bubble in perspective. And what might make sense, and this is a little big for the volcano, but just for the demo, that the volcano the bubble starts to rise, and it's like some sort of mud bubble that you might see at Yellowstone National Park. And so there's a couple of great images. Let's just switch this over to videos. No, let's just do images. So there's just a couple of great ones where there's these mud bubbles. And look at this one. They have these really crazy shapes. I don't know why it's not letting me see videos. Why isn't it letting me see videos? There we go. See it? So these are great. I think I've seen this example in this class just a bunch of different times. Just hot gases are rising through the mud and they're plooping. These are better bubbles to think about animating. And so with this, you can very, very easily see that you can add in a bubble effect to your volcano very easily without being distracted aesthetically or anything. So here's just another camera version of it. Bloop, bloop, that's, it's good so that they're not moving too fast They're not moving too slow. Bloop, bloop, bloop. So these little mud bubbles are great. All right, so in our little demo, that's what we would go for. We would go for, and again, this is just my layout of these bubbles, and the bubble becomes, as soon as it becomes like perfectly round up here, then the next frame it's gonna break apart. And when it breaks apart, you're gonna see these really great shapes. So let's go back to our little water thing. Let's go back down here. Oops, not too far, too far. Oh my God. Shift M. All right, so we're on the little demo layer here, and we're gonna do mud just like right in this area here. So once again, the sequencing for the mud bubble is that you've got just a rough circle that's in perspective. We are on 2s already. So this line right here is gonna stay, this is gonna rise up a little bit. And again, we're just being rough right here. Next keyframe. So it's gonna continue to rise up, where this line is gonna stay the same. And try to keep a good sense of draftsmanship on perspective. It'll help, even though I'm being a little rough. All right, so then it continues to rise. And you can see that it's rising at a relatively easy rate right here. You know, one thing I could do is show you all what happens if you change the setting on here to contour smoothing and really bump it up. So you can see that taking advantage of Toon Boom right now, where I've just bumped my settings up so that I'm going to get a smoother, more vectored line. And this is one place where you can use that to your advantage. Just remember to change your settings back. All right, so again, remember my demo is on
Shouldn't the width of the, or shouldn't the diameter of the bubble be like increasing too, or?
No, not usually.
Oh, okay.
No, just keep it the same. All right, so right now on this particular drawing here, this might be too much, that the bubble is absolutely reached its apex. So on the very next drawing, we're going to keep this line. And again, I think that this is just better in terms of bubbles because it gives you a sense of shape and design. So now this bubble is going to pop. And we're going to pop it just by letting it release. And we're going to think about differentiation in shape. So that's a medium shape. This is a bigger shape. Maybe this is even bigger. And then it rolls over here. And then we can see the other side. So this is going to rise up. It's going to have like a little water shape to it. And then maybe it just goes down like this. Somewhere there's a little place where there's like a little droplet. And we'll just hold that. So that looks pretty good right there. Next keyframe. So now this is all going downwards. Everything is going downwards. If you wanted to, you could experiment with a projectile going out, but you don't have to. It's gonna fall pretty quickly. So this is just gonna be like this. It's gonna round out. Now you get the away side. This is going down, and it's going to continue to connect. This little bit was falling. This little bit is continuing to fall in the background. We're on 2s. So next one. So this is going to fall about halfway. This is going to go about right there. There's no ripples in this kind of mud bubble deal here. All right, this falls, this continues to fall. And you kind of have to remember where you were with all these lines on top of each other. All right, then the next keyframe.
Will certain liquids be more like explosive when the bubble pops? Like, you know, sometimes I remember seeing like footage of magma. It's like it really feels like the not magma but lava. It feels like, you know, there's a burst there, like things really spray out and you gotta watch
Sure.
out. Okay.
Yeah, different things explode and break apart completely differently.
So in
Just
that
think
case,
about-
like follow a curve. You just don't need to follow the curve of the bubble itself. You can follow like harder one or
I don't know if I understand your question.
I suppose like here it looks like you follow the you still keep within the curve of the bubble itself, the within the uh, area that the bubble had been in. Like,
So right,
what would be the path?
because there's surface tension.
So what would be the path of action for one that like bursts like
Oh,
violently?
so let's just go back here. We'll do it side. Well, let's take a look at this one, right? Right. So that one's okay, right? So if you want one that just bursts, it's really simple. And we'll go out here just to this frame right here. And now we're just gonna have a bubble that's floating. And I'm going to hold that by copying it and pasting it for a few frames. So I just held it for like 12 frames. And then on the next keyframe, now it depends on what's popping. If it's like a soap bubble, then that means there's very, very little liquid that is used to make this up. And what happens is kind of the same thing that happens with this mud bubble, except it happens much faster. And you can look at your high-speed videos, but basically you're gonna have something like this. Oh, I don't like that. I'm going to change these settings back because now it's messing with my drawing. Okay, so this whole area here kind of condenses to just a little drop. And this whole area is going to condense to just a little bit. And then on the next keyframe, this whole area becomes this. This starts to fall. This becomes just this. And then that's it. There's just like 3 tiny little droplets that just fall as that bubble explodes. And then that speeds up. So just space this out. And those hit the ground plane down around here. So at speed, here's your mud bubble. And that one you could augment by adding in just a little bit of the explosion technique that we just learned. So on this one right here, because the keyframe before this, that's still just the round bubble. On this one, just have a little bit of radiating, these are just like minuscule little bits of water that just explode. So a keyframe out, and then that just becomes nothing up here. That just becomes a tiny little, stop it, just a little bit of nothing up here. Same thing over here. And then maybe one more keyframe where this is all the way out here. This is here, and we may be able to fall one little bit of droplet. There is a thing in water where the water can appear to be like magic and actually disappear. You know, over the course of time, water will evaporate, but they're in the rules of the physics of special effects, water can really just disappear sometimes. It goes against your thought about how heavy water is. Let's look at that little bit I added to it. It might not even be moving fast enough. So there you've got a mud bubble on the right, and just a regular bubble on the left and then a regular bubble on the right. All right, let's take a look. What else can we talk about here just to get you set up? And what I think that what happens here is that we're going to, like I said, back up. We're going to start talking about these tornadoes sometime in the next couple weeks. But for right now, we have put in water and lava and mud and eruptions and bubbles and explosions all in the volcano project. So that was my thinking about. So you could do all of these separately if you want, but for your show reel, for your portfolio, it's going to be better if you start thinking about these in terms of composition and really spending a good amount of time, a whole bunch of weeks on this volcano project. And please don't make it look like mine, you know, because then everyone in the school is going to end up looking like mine, and that's not what I want. You know, this is just a demo. This little thing right here is just a demo. And that one doesn't have the mud in it yet. You can kind of see the lava flowing over here on the left. It's kind of subtle. And next week we'll talk about fire and getting fire to cycle. One of the things that you all may want to put in your notebooks, if you will, is that when we were talking about the original principles of animation, I added the word cycling in there because whenever you're putting a game together, you don't have time or bandwidth or memory to animate all this stuff shot by frame by frame by frame by frame like it was a Disney film. In games, this is always cycling. You always have some type of 12, 18, maybe as many as 36 drawings that are cycling, but they're always cycling. They're always little sprite sheets so that the engineers, the programmers can call them up and they can say, oh, we need a splash right here. What kind of splash? Well, Billy has animated 4 or 5 different kinds of splash. Just use this one. We'll skew it, we'll tweak it, we'll paint it a different color, and no one will notice that it's the same exact animation. But when Disney was animating all of that stuff, they were animating everything brand new, straight ahead, frame by frame. Nothing was ever cycling. And so it's a game thing to even put cycling as a principle of animation, but that's okay. Games are okay. The last time I checked, games were still okay. Yes? So anyone want to disagree with me? All right.
I mean, even post Disney 2D animation embraces cycling a lot now. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think the epitome of that was in The Thief and the Cobbler, which is Richard Williams' claim to fame, except that the film was stolen away from him by the Miramax people right at the last minute and taken to the Bluth Studios and just ruined horribly. That there were, the thief, I don't know if you've ever seen the film, purportedly has never taken a bath in his entire life. And so in order to display that, he's always got like a whole bunch of flies that are flying around him. And
you're not going to be, I was going to say, you're not be drawing flies frame by frame. You're going to be cycling those then?
No, he said they were all done straight ahead and they were never cycling.
Absolute madman.
Now, again, Richard Williams, what are there's like 5, 10, 15, there's 20 flies. He was on record saying that none of these flies, which last the entire film, whenever the thief is there, none of them were ever copied or cycled.
I would believe that. He's kind of a psychopath. You see his work, and he's very insistent on using just ones. He'll do crazy perspective. So it sounds like something he'd do.
My kingdom will come to destruction and death.
Well, we got a little bit of them there. Now they're small. That's an homage to Night on Bald Mountain.
Hmm.
There we go. All right. So yeah, you don't want to spend the rest of your days and lives drawing just flies, I promise you. Looks like we're ending a little early today. Javon, did you disappear on me forever? You see a picture of the ceiling. Oh, you're awake. I saw your foot.
No, I'm here.
Okay, you got to get caught up.
Pardon?
You got to get caught up. I have lots of blank areas on your attendance grade book here. Make sure
Okay.
you use that, take advantage of that late and missing folder as much as you need to.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, let me just check here. All right, does anyone have any specific questions? I'm not recording at the moment. Jack, any special questions? Again, if you really, really want to and you're at a complete loss for composition, you can do each one of these as a simple little sprite, a simple little project all by itself, but I don't recommend that. It's better for your reel, it's better for your website to put these things together and have something more substantial to work on.
I have a question.
Yes.
Will you teach us how to import these animation into a game engine?
That has been a question for a while now. And because my people aren't in front of my face, I can show you, we can do this coming up, but we'll make a note. But there's a way to export sprite sheets. And then maybe I'll have either Brian or Phil explain how to bring them into the Unity engine. I think that, once again, I think the purpose of this class is really to talk about overall aesthetics and to talk about composition and point, line, plane, all those very, gutsy rules of art, direction, flow, unity, comparison, scale, proportion, perspective, all the rules of art. So that when you are working in Unity, when you are working in Maya and you're bringing up particle systems, you're not just controlling them randomly. You're looking for certain shapes, you're looking for sizes, you're looking at the timing in terms of the principles of animation. And certainly some of those effects generators are becoming more sophisticated every time we look at them. There's a whole bunch of people at Stanford who are doing water simulation that you wouldn't believe it was digital. It is so good, it's so realistic that you've got waves and splashes and anything that water can do that just looks incredible. But I don't think that you want to go into engineering at Stanford. I think that you are all more in the game and animation world. So if you want any pointers, go see if you can find a copy of the Joe Gillen book, Elemental Magic. It'll change your way of looking at everything in art, animation, game design, drawing. It's just a really, really good book. And I'm not saying that because he was my supervisor. He's just a super nice guy too. All right, you guys are free to go early. Remember, don't tag me. This class isn't tagging me, it's the other class that's tagging me. Go ahead and put any revisions up in the folder that I just made today. And again, this is going to be due on October 26th, 2 weeks.
Okay, question.
Yes.
Are you looking for anything specific?
All right, everyone okay? Millie, you okay?
Yep.
You sure? You look sad. No, you're not sad? Okay. Key, you all right?
Yeah, I
All right,
guess.
we'll see you all next week.
See you next week. Thank you.
All right. And I'll put this recording up on YouTube within the hour or so.
Thank you. Bye bye.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Billy.
See you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.